What's up, guys? This is Dawson Lee here on the Launch Site Podcast, your weekly educational podcast. And today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the power of Reader's Theater. So what is Reader's Theater? Reader's Theater is basically an activity where students can get a script and they go to the front of the room and they can perform this script, act it out as if it's like a mini play. And really, it's just an opportunity for students to engage with the text instead of it just being just another passage that they're reading, but they're performing it, and the rest of the class is able to hear it, and they're just able to engage with it in a much more dynamic way than a typical reading activity. And so this activity, this method, it promotes fluency. It helps them to read better, helps them to figure out pacing. They're able to use different voices. And it doesn't really require any props or costumes or setup or anything like that. Obviously, if you wanted to go above and beyond, you can do that. But in my class, we keep it pretty simple, and the kids still enjoy it. There's stories that could be read, historical text, original scripts. They can explore the reading in a fun, it's a low-pressure environment. That does take some effort on your part as a teacher, but I'll get to that later. But it encourages creativity and collaboration. It's super fun for the kids. They really enjoy it. And depending on what kind of texts or passages your state requires, you can make it work for any kind of activity. So if you have to have expository text or narrative or poem or argumentative, you can incorporate all of these things into Reader's Theater. And so here's what it looks like. There's, like I said, engaging performances. It's students performing for their peers, which allows students to engage with the text more so than if they were just simply reading a passage. And so in order to implement the Reader's Theater, it's not super complicated, but what I would recommend is to start by either you choose the scripts for the students. That's what I typically do, but maybe the first time you want it to be a little bit more fun and engaging, differentiate, give the students some choice. And so you could allow the students to choose the script. Maybe you could have like several options for them, and so the students can look over them and then choose for themselves. Then you as the teacher, you can model that fluency. You can demonstrate what a good Reader's Theater is supposed to look like. You read the script for them, really sell it, put forth some emotion so that they can see what it's supposed to look like and how much more fun it is whenever you do really put forth that extra effort. Then the students can practice together. You can split up into groups, and they can practice reading the scripts together. They can rehearse, especially for younger kids. They might want to read over it once or twice. I teach middle grades, and so a lot of my kids really don't need to rehearse. We just pass out the script and we just get going. And so then the actual performance. So students are going to showcase their hard work. They're going to perform this script, and the rest of the class that's not performing, they're going to be sitting in the audience, and you could have an activity for them to do, then be answering questions, or just simply be listening intently and engaging with the people that are performing. And so then the last thing is the reflection. So students are going to share their thoughts and their learning. There's a bunch of different ways that this can look. I have a resource that I'm going to explain in a little bit, but the after part of the Reader's Theater is where you can really do a bunch of different stuff to make it really count. So some of the benefits of Reader's Theater, like I've already said, there's fluency that it helps students engage with the reading, the speed of their reading and their expression skills. It's also going to help students with confidence, which honestly a lot of students really lack in today's day and age. It's going to support them speaking in front of people, so public speaking, gaining that self-confidence of presenting in front of other classmates is a really big thing that this helps out. The engagement is there. So like I said, it's not just simply giving the students another passage, a paper or on the Chromebook or computer or whatever, but it's allowing them to interact with the text, engage with the text. The kids are so used to watching movies and TV shows that it's another opportunity for them to see something performed. And it's very captivating. Even though their classmates may not be the best actor or actress in the world, you'd be surprised at how much they love just sitting and listening to somebody else perform. And so speaking more to the fluency and the comprehension, it's going to strengthen those reading skills through engaging that repeated practice. So hearing these words and hearing these vocab terms and different stuff over and over again, it's going to really, really help with those skills. So that repeated reading in Reader's Theater, especially if they're practicing it over and over again, it's going to enhance that word recognition and that comprehension. And so as students start to practice their roles, naturally they're going to improve their tone and their phrasing. The more times that they do this, the better they'll get with it. And they'll obviously want to perform that role better and the more and more they do it. And the more they do it, it just leads to a stronger understanding of the text. And so this method also allows the students to get into character. They can explore different character perspectives, especially in a narrative, but honestly, they can see different perspectives in any kind of text, whether it's a poem, the expository, argumentative. They're able to see these different perspectives maybe a little bit better than they would if they were just simply reading the passage. And so that obviously is going to lead to kind of some social emotional type things, empathy, deeper connections with the material, which is always going to be good. And so then, like I said, after the theater is when you really have the opportunity to do some different activities that can really help students analyze and dig deep with the text. So it leads to discussion and analysis, like I was saying. You can integrate a variety of different activities. So you could have short answer questions that go with the Reader's Theater, constructive response. You could have the kids write an essay that goes with it. You could even have multiple choice questions that mimic state testing. That sounds really specific. That's one of the resources that I've got that goes with the activity. I'll mention that more so at the end. So these activities are going to allow students to deepen their understanding of the text, allows them to analyze, allows them to write. This also is going to allow them to go from just simply another great activity to something to help actually review for those standardized tests. And like I said, that continued discussion is also going to help students continue to build those social emotional skills by interacting with each other. So the vocabulary development is also a big part of Reader's Theater. So it's going to help kids learn the new words. They're going to hear these new words modeled correctly, which is going to be very beneficial. They're going to have, it's going to help with retention, help them remember these new words. They're going to be able to see these new words in context, which is nice. And so then those context clues around them are going to help them understand the words as well. And there's just something about having it performed versus reading it that just helps students understand a little bit better. And so there's also some really awesome cross-curricular connections that can be made with Reader's Theater. So it doesn't just have to be a random text. You know, this is something that honestly I'm very passionate about, and I feel like I've learned a whole lot more about over the last couple of years. But, you know, in ELA and reading, I feel like for so long we've just gotten used to just picking random texts or random books or random passages when we could easily be killing 2 or 3 birds with one stone. Rather than just picking a random passage or a random Reader's Theater, why don't we pick one that is still fun and engaging, but it also aligns with the social studies standards that the kids are supposed to be learning, or the science standards the kids are supposed to be learning. Math could be a little bit trickier, but it's still possible. So there's the opportunity for cross-curricular connections with Reader's Theater, which is really nice. And so there's also inclusion that happens with Reader's Theater. So you can have tailored roles that are differentiated based on the kids' reading levels and abilities. You could, especially with AI nowadays, you could even make the Reader's Theater. You could make a Reader's Theater, and you could make it so that certain roles have a lower lexile or lower reading level, so that, hey, this kid has this role, but it's okay because this speaking part is not quite as difficult as this other speaking part. You know, like you could have an expository Reader's Theater where, you know, somebody's like the scientist, and they might have a lengthier speaking part with some, you know, more difficult vocab words, but somebody else might just simply be, you know, a student or a reporter or something like that, where their speaking part may not be as difficult. So you can differentiate the Reader's Theater and assign different roles. And obviously that's all going to just boost engagement and encourage participation from all the students. So I would be remiss if I didn't admit some of the potential challenges that can happen with Reader's Theater. But not to worry, no big deal. I'll help you address those hurdles so we can get past it. So it like I said, it offers many benefits. Challenges can come up, but that's okay. So some students are obviously going to feel a little shy or anxious about performing. They may not feel like they have enough time to prepare or have all the things necessary for success. Not to worry, not a big deal. So overcoming those challenges, you got to pick fun scripts, pick things that the kids are going to enjoy, they're going to like doing. You can have the kids practice more and more, like I said, with partners or as a whole group, whatever you think is best. Set clear expectations. This is the big for my classroom, being middle grades, set clear expectations of what's expected of the kids reading, talking loud, talking, with emotion if they can. In the audience, people are engaged, people are, polite and respectful. That's the biggest thing for me, is just setting clear expectations. And then it also helps if you can rotate the roles so that not everybody's doing the same thing every time. Everybody has equal speaking parts. And then, like I said, just creating a safe environment where Readers Theater is a positive, fun experience for everybody, not just this, crazy activity where people read stuff out loud. And so some more tips for success is expressive reading. Model that expressive reading to inspire students' performance. Have them work in small groups to enhance that participation before we get to the part where we're speaking in front of the whole class. And then celebrate success. When kids do well, when they really get into it, when they use emotion, don't be afraid to pat them on the back and let them know how good of a job they did. Because it's going to mean a lot to them, but it's also going to communicate to the other kids, hey, listen, this right here, this is how you do it. Okay, so that's it for our podcast for today. If you enjoyed, then please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Also, I have a resource on our Teachers Pay Teachers account at BSender that basically goes with, it is a Readers Theater activity, and it's got different passages that go with different kinds of text. So it's got a narrative, it's got an argumentative, it's got an expository or informational, it's got a poem, and then it's got different kinds of questions that go with it that align with standardized tests. So multiple choice questions that align with standardized testing. That's just something that I've done with it recently. There's other things that you can do with it, but also don't forget to follow our socials and our Substack at Launchsite, Dawson Lee Books, and BSender Author. But that's it for me today. Thanks so much, guys. Till next time.